Everyone, it's Miles Hopkins here. I'm one of the trustees of the Agile20Reflect Festival, and today is a real honor for me. I'm speaking to one of our patrons, Sally Elatta. Sally is joining us from Omaha, Nebraska. I've been there a couple of times. It's an amazing place. She is the founder and CEO of a company called Agility Health. I refer to them as my second family. I've learned so much from Sally and her team in the enterprise business agility world, and I'm so looking forward to having this chat with Sally today. So,
Thank
welcome, Sally,
you.
and thank you for taking time out to talk to us today. And thank you so much for
Sure.
agreeing to be a patron for amazing festival.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for putting this together. I think that we're living in this virtual world right now, and this has become our new way to connect. And I tell you, we're definitely missing the energy, the physical energy of being together. But these kind of events and this reflection and this bringing people together to learn, I mean, it's a very good thing. So thank you for what you're doing, and thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, thanks, Sally. Maybe just as an intro, then, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, you always give us such inspiration about this young girl who came from Sudan and grew this amazing business in the US. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and your entry into Agile.
Sure. I am Sally Elatta. I was born in Sudan in Africa. I left the country when I was 4 years old. My mother was getting her PhD in Scotland, so I used to have an accent and speak that way. So it was in Edinburgh, actually. Um, I grew up between London and Scotland and in Saudi Arabia, and I came to the US when I was about 17 years old to live the American dream. I bought my first home as an investor, as a real estate investor, when I was 18 years old. And I'm sharing that story with you because what I'm known for in terms of my leadership and my style is it's called be bold, be real, and lead with love. So I am very bold. I am very ambitious because of my mother, because she really, I don't know, I think she raised me to be fearless. There's a difference between being fearless and having ego. I don't have ego, but I am fearless. I'm willing to try anything and give anything a shot. And so I started businesses, I started investing at a very young age. I came into the world of technology and was a software engineer and an architect for many years, and started Agile Transformation, was the name of our company 11 years ago, and just changed it to Agility Health a couple years ago. So the formal name is still Agile Transformation Incorporated, but we're now doing business as Agility Health. I'm a mother of three beautiful children, Yara, Sharif, and Noor, and I am also a activist who about a year and a half ago started a nonprofit organization called Sudan Next Gen. For any of you that have been following the news, you'll know that my home country, Sudan, just went through an amazing revolution led by the women and the youth to take down a 30-year dictator. And that just energized me beyond description. And I'm like, I got to do something. Like, I can't be watching a whole country and all these young people trying. We are all experts in transformations, and all of our skills as change agents can help countries with their transformation. So I got involved with my big bold dreams, and so I'm leading that as well. So that's just a little bit about everything about me.
No, great, Sally. I mean, such inspirational stories. And I mean, we were just talking before we started recording this interview that, one of the events that we may very well talk about holding on the Agile20Reflect Festival is that story of Next Gen Sudan, and just really working out how, particularly a woman in an Arab dominated country, which is very paternalistic, to overthrow a government there, I mean, is just amazing, and
Amazing.
I really am looking forward to that story
I
in
think
February.
the story of Sudan will inspire many African countries, and will actually have a lot of dictators wake up and realize that young people and women have power. And with
Yeah,
social media and with nonviolent movement, they can topple a dictator. People are just fed up, Miles. They're ready
yeah.
for change everywhere in the world. So it's great.
No, no, definitely, Sally. I mean, not getting too political, but even in my country, in South Africa, we have a 30% unemployment rate, but in the youth, the unemployment rate is 60 to 64%.
Mhm.
And again, if the country is not careful, we could very well have our own Arab Spring if we don't address the challenges that the youth find. So, big kudos to you and Sudan Next Gen. It is such an inspiration. I'm really looking forward to shedding a couple of tears when we hear that story in February. But to come back to Agile, I mean, you've been in the Agile world for a while now, and you're a well-known leader in the Agile world. What does Agile mean to you? I mean, we see all of the frameworks and the ceremonies and the tools and the methodologies, but what does Agile really mean if you were to give your explanation of what it means to us, Sally?
I mean, for me, Agile has been about adopting new ways of working. And I've even seen that now HR refers to that as new ways of working. But it's changed how we work. It's changed how we collaborate. It's changed how we plan. It's changed how we deliver. It's made us more open to feedback and to delivering in smaller increments. So to me, Agile is a whole new way of collaboration, a new way of working, a new way of leading. And it's had such a big cultural impact in businesses, in nonprofits, in governments, and now in nations. I mean, we're teaching Agile to Sudan right now. So I'm very just proud to see the evolution of Agile, and that those practices, those mindsets, those new behaviors, those experiment and learn, deliver in small increments, engage the customer, get feedback rapidly, that has manifested itself across all industries. It kind of reminds me when Lean was born in manufacturing, and everybody just thought, well, Lean is only for manufacturing and for Toyota and then all of a sudden they're like, those principles of Lean apply to any kind of businesses that we want to optimize, or business process optimization, and it could really help. And it just kind of grew up. And so you now really use Lean principles everywhere. To me, Agile is the same thing. It defines a new set of practices and behaviors and mindsets for working together and getting stuff done in a much better modern way.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ellie. And I think, I mean, where I've learned a lot from you and Agility Health, but particularly from you, is really the agile across the business. I mean, you and I are both good friends with Evan Laybourne, and he always says that, you can only be as agile as your least agile department.
Yeah.
And you've really driven the business agility side really well. Do you want to potentially expand on that?
Sure. So I always like to say Agile's grown up now. It's all grown up. And a lot of what people talk about today is business agility. And the definition of business agility, and I'm going to share it with you, but I want you to know where it came from. The definition of business agility is the ability to respond to change, learn and pivot, deliver at speed, and thrive in a competitive market. And as I say that, I want you to reflect on COVID and what organizations just had to go through. The ability to adapt to change. Did we have to do that? Every company, whether they knew about Agile or didn't know, wanted to be on the journey or didn't want to be on the journey, they had to adapt to change. They had to learn and pivot and deliver virtually and take their employees to work from home and deliver faster. I remember one of our big bank customers said that they had to process 1.2 million transactions of loans that they're giving to small businesses. It's called the PPP program here in the United States. And they had done almost none of them the year before, within 1 week. And so that's what we talk about, learn and pivot. And then deliver at speed. I mean, things that they used to take 2 years and 1 year, we got done in a few weeks. And so what I love about that story is business agility got accelerated, and everybody just went through a boot camp on what does business agility mean. So we don't even have to talk about it anymore. We got to say, hey, see what COVID just did and see what you had to do to react to that. Instead of you reacting to it, we want and being reactive, we want this to be how you operate in the future. And so business agility now, and the movement with Evan Laybourne and the Business Agility Institute, is taking agility and talking about it at the enterprise level. How do you enable enterprise business agility? By investing in customer seat at the table and product management, lean portfolio management, and outcome-based planning. That's our second pillar. The third pillar is organizational design and organizing teams to flow value and outcomes. The fourth pillar is agile, bringing in agility to business and technology teams, not just technology teams. The fifth one is leadership and culture. How are you going to bring leadership agility to managers and executives at all levels so that they know that this journey includes them? Make it stick is the fifth one, and it's really around building internal change agents and developing talent and bringing HR to the table and measuring and growing at every level. And then finally, we've got technology agility, which is digital transformation and enabling digital skills. So all of that are enterprise business agility pillars to enable a business agility journey. And Agile is a part of it, but that's why I say Agile grew up, because it's not the only tool anymore. And we as a community need to stop falling in love with our tools and our methods and become advocates for Scrum, Kanban, SAFe, XP, blah. All these are the tools that we use to transform an organization. We need to fall more in love with the business outcomes and enabling agility and business agility for our customers. And we need to start speaking more the language of business leaders and executives and not try to force them to speak our language. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, Ellie. And just as you were talking about COVID and how businesses need to adapt it, one of the stories I saw right at the beginning of COVID, and it was actually came out of the USA with a brewery, and obviously, they made beer, and they very quickly realized that there was an opportunity for them, and because they had a production line and they were already dealing with alcohol, they stopped making beer and they started making disinfectants. So totally changing their product line. And I know that in the enterprise business agility work that you do, you always talk about the run, grow, and transform the business. And this was very much about the transforming the business to meet the challenges of the new world that COVID has brought upon all of us. So I think that business agility is just such a critical area, and I definitely am seeing a lot more interest in it as we progress through this year.
Yeah, no, I think it's wonderful. And I think, Miles, as you hear people talk about digital transformation now, and everybody's focus is on how are we going to accelerate that? Agile and new ways of working is all fundamentally part of that now. So we have bypassed now, we are grown up, and we're no longer the should you do this and what is it? And is there value? Like, you remember several years ago, we all had to convince everybody that agile and agility were the right way and what's the business value and please prove it to me. We are beyond that conversation now. If there's an executive that is still wondering, what is agile and is this something that my organization should adopt? It's like, okay, we're just gonna have to skip you and go to organizations that are ready to transform, because that means that you have not been reading Gartner or McKinsey or Deloitte, or you haven't been paying attention. You're living under a rock. There's no way that you cannot understand that these new ways of working are now must have. They're not nice to have. And hopefully COVID just woke everybody up and gave them that boot camp.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you spoke about, obviously growing up and moving towards business agility. We've seen Agile really a lot in the technology industries, the financial services, health industries. Also, you spoke about, using it in Sudan. Where do you see, new opportunities? Obviously, all organizations can be Agile in a way, but do you see any trends of Agile moving into non-traditional industries or applications where they weren't before, where it wasn't before?
I think with COVID, because of COVID, supply chain manufacturing just got disrupted quite a bit because they had to learn very quickly. Traditional supply chain is it's slower, even though lean has been applied, but I think you're going to see that supply chain agility and some agile practices going in there is going to start to happen. For the first time, I'm seeing the OpEx world, the operational excellence world, and the supply chain actually come on board, and they're getting certified in Agile and EBA and SAFe and all those things. And they're just like, how do we bring that into our world? So I would say that's an industry. I would say government. You're going to see a lot of government, and where they're starting with is even just citizen experience. So customer experience and citizen experience, and investing in technologies and digital tools and ways to improve digital experience so that citizens can do business with their phone, they can come online. Cloud is going to be huge, you know, moving and shifting everything to cloud. I think that just in general, every industry is been disrupted, honestly, even oil and gas. And because they've all been disrupted and they have to innovate, they have to change, maybe even their product line. I've seen a lot of telecoms say, we are not going to be a telecom company now, we're going to be a product company. We're going to be a technology company moving forward. So a lot of industries are actually reinventing themselves, Miles, like completely changing who they were and what they offered, and moving into saying, we'll be a tech company, we'll be a product company, we'll be an IoT. And I think that in itself is going to force the investment in agility and agile ways of working, and bring in, so we in the agile community just need to be ready to understand that these practices that we've been adopting, they were very specifically designed for technology. So my message out there is, don't fall in love with the practice exactly as it was in the IT. So for example, we had a claims department wanting to adopt Agile. And when they heard about the rule that a Scrum team must be 7 plus or minus 2, but when they're processing claims, they have about 25 to 30 claims processors that work under one supervisor. You know, the idea of breaking that team down into 7 plus or minus 2, just because Scrum said that didn't make sense to them. So I guess my message is that the general mindset and the general principles behind Agile will always survive. We as change agents need to understand, how does this apply to this business function? What part of that applies, and not get so strict about, you got to have a burn up chart, you're going to have to use story points for estimating. Nope, they might not need to, and you need to be okay with that. Does that make sense? So just kind of the adapting it and bringing the principles and bringing the mindsets and bringing the right practices to the right scenario.
Yeah, we worked recently with a big retail company, and it was the internal audit department has said that our head office says we have to go agile. Does that mean I have to do all my internal audits in 2-week sprints? So exactly the same as what you're saying with your claims department. You need to fit it to their particular needs, and it's about speeding up delivery, but that doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. So 100% agree. So let's maybe move a little bit back into Sally, and you know, in terms of your career, what is the highlight or highlights that spring to mind in your own agile journey, Sally?
I mean, I think my career is just a career of evolution and growth and change and bold moves. You know, remember, I come from a technology background, so I was a software engineer. Moving into Agile and falling in love and deciding to start a company dedicated to Agile transformation was a very big, bold career move for me, because I had to get out of being a developer and an architect and move into organizational transformation and cultural transformation. Another highlight is when I moved out of doing that for technology only and started working with business teams and with executives and CEOs. I had to first get comfortable with that, because it's easy to doubt yourself, Miles, and to say, I just know how to do this for IT, and they're going to feel like I'm a fraud if I start speaking to the business. So that was another big shift, is the business agility, speaking to executives, and then running my own company as an entrepreneur and hiring and having up to 100 people. I realized I myself became the business. So instead of thinking of it them, like I am a business leader, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO, I run marketing and sales and product. It gave me such a different appreciation to be on this side of the table, because I really did become the business side. And I started to realize why business leaders get irritated and agitated at technology people that only speak about tech words, processes and don't appreciate the day-to-day business operations and closing deals and moving things forward that the business is having to deal with. You know what I mean? So that was another big evolution for me, is to become the business leader and appreciate it completely from that other side. I always took the other one. And I just think, you know, the movement in the industry around business agility, and now the measuring what matters and using the voice of the people and bringing up the voice of the teams as a way of accelerating the transformation. I think it's the next big thing. I think that we should stop falling in love with the very specific methods and just agree to continuously improve. What does good look like for us? And how do we evolve and continuously measure and improve towards that? So I believe that measurement and continuous improvement will be the accelerator, and it will neutralize this conversation around, well, is it better to do Scrum or Kanban or this or that? I think we just define in those radars what does good look like for us, and then make sure we're all aligned and moving towards that. So that's kind of my quick journey here.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Sally. Sort of the last question I want to go to is around the festival. So one of our key drivers behind the festival is building bridges. So over the years, the Agile community has obviously grown and evolved and morphed. But part of the sadness of some of that has been the distinct groups that have formed in Agile, and one framework really not loving another framework, and people, you know, arguing about what is Agile. You know, is it a big A Agile, small A Agile, and just a lot of disconnect in the Agile world, and obviously a lot of great stuff happening as well. Part of what we want to gain out of the Agile20Reflect festival is to build the bridges for the future. What advice would you give, or what impact do you think the festival would have on building those bridges for the future of Agile?
Just bringing people together, like what you've got back there. Bringing people together, I think, is, you know, I've never taken sides, and I never will, because one, I don't like drama. Second, I always say plant seeds, don't plant weeds about each other, you know? So plant positive thoughts. And I don't like it when a group of people start planting negativity about another group of people. It's just, we as Agile leaders need to lead and become role models. And so when I see the Agile community itself planting weeds, talking, back talking, you know, pointing fingers, to me, it's like the opposite of what we're teaching. It's the opposite of what we're coaching and guiding. At the end of the day, the market and the customers decide what works for them. And our job as change agents is to bring people together, is to educate them and make them aware of what's available. As a change agent, tailor, customize, do what you need to do for people to be able to be influenced and actually move forward, and stop the judgment. You know what I mean? And stop. And I think, honestly, Agile is growing so much right now that you're going to see some of that go away, because the community is going to be much larger than this group or that group or this group, because it's starting to transcend everywhere. So when you have something that's growing so large, it's no longer owned by, well, we don't like this group, or this group doesn't like this group, or the certification is the only one. Like, it's just become bigger than that. So I hope that people listening attend this festival. Thank you for putting it together. And I think that bringing people together and talking about the heart of agility and Agile, and let's squash any of that drama, would be really awesome.
Thanks so much, Celia. Thank you so much for your time again today. Always love spending time chatting. It's been too long that we hadn't had a chat. So thank you so much again. Yeah, great. Thank you, Sally.